Hey there. Hi there, everybody. Good to see you. Good to see you. Come on in. I'm bowling and jamming. Gosh, where's my scissors? I have to cut my little straw here so that I don't get lip gloss on my cup. The science, all the things you have to think about, when you're drinking seltzer water. Anyway, good to see you. Come on in. It was very interesting. I had thought that I was going to take a little bit of a Saturday webinar hiatus. Through the holiday season, beginning with today. And that was my plan. But what happened was I talked with a man who reached out to me from my website the week before last, and I tried all week to well, anyway, we couldn't connect until yesterday morning. And he's a post-stroke victim by 3 years, 87 years old. And he mentioned something to me that I'd never heard of. And you know how that goes when that happens to me, where that often will take me. And I had to kind of I really wanted to put my brain on it quickly because it was so fascinating to me. So anyway, I'm going to introduce myself and then I'll dig in because I got a lot of slides. I did this morning and I have like 69 slides. So we have a lot to cover here. Anyway, Becky Montrone, have a business here in Keene called Wondrous Roots. I am a holistic healthcare practitioner with a degree in holistic nutrition. I'm also a clinical herbalist, and I am certified through the Association of Drugless Practitioners. I've been practicing for 20 years, founded my business in 2005. And so still hanging in here, still working with people of all ages, all different health issues, you name it. I'm all over it and do my best to figure out what I don't know and all of that. I call myself a health detective. So we are open here. I have my consulting practice, so I meet with clients one-on-one regarding whatever health problem is going on. I meet here in my office locally on 103 Roxbury Street, Miller Forge Building, third floor. Um, in person with people, but I have a lot of clients all over the country, and we meet this way. It's very easy to do, or by phone if this doesn't work for somebody for some reason. But anyway, so it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of work to do. We're very, very busy right now. All of my staff, my co-workers here, wonderful Sue, Mary, Dale, Krista, everybody's super busy. Stocking up products that we make. We have a skincare line that's super popular all year round, but very popular this time of year for gifts and things like that. So we are burning the midnight oil around here, which is one of the reasons I'm going to be taking a break from the Saturday webinars till the start of the year. But in any case, um, you'll be getting notifications. Those of you who sign up or subscribe to my newsletter, I'll be sending out information about all of that, Christmas and holiday shopping and things like that. You'll be hearing from me. I'll be writing blogs. I'm just not going to do the Saturday webinars for a few weeks. But today I am. So definitely want to open up. Well, I'll continue my little story and then I'll open up my slide presentation. So, um, this man went on to say he heard from the health ranger, who is Mike Adams. He said, "Do you follow him?" And I said, I don't really have time to follow people and listen to their videos. I'm busy doing my own. But he said he talked about something called N-Acetyl-Semax. And so I'm thinking I know everything. I'm like, oh, I didn't tell you, I didn't do my intro. Okay, you can, we're open 9:30 to 5, Monday through Friday, 103 Roxbury Street, up on the third floor of the Miller Forge building, but don't let that dawn to you. We have full free parking and elevator access. We're open 9:30 to 5. The number here is 603-439-2603. I have two websites, wondrousroots.org, which is more educational, and shopwondrousroots.com, which has all of these products we carry, things that I carry from nutritional supplements and things like that. And then our own products, my own herbal formulations and our skincare line, stuff like that. That's shopwondrousroots.com. You can reach me by going to contact us at either of those websites and typing me a message. It comes to my private email. I'm the only one who sees and answers. Okay, and I think that's done. All right. So I'm thinking, oh, he's talking about N-acetylcysteine, and it must be a special product that Mike, the health ranger, has a special product of his that he's selling, N-Acetyl-Semax for N-acetylcysteine. So I went on to say that he's talking about N-acetylcysteine, which is a precursor of glutathione, but you can just use glutathione. You know my whole spiel about that. Although N-acetylcysteine does have other purposes I've learned that make it valuable to take for other reasons. But anyway, I digress. He said, no, no, it's C-Max. It's C-Max. So I immediately went into my chat GBT and I said, what is this N-acetyl-C-Max? And is it the same thing? Is it N-acetylcysteine? And while I have him on the phone, and it's like, no, it's not the same, and blah, 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 blah. So with what it was telling me while I'm talking to this gentleman, this dear man, um, I was so intrigued. And so then I thought, oh my gosh, I mean, this is very useful for stroke recovery, for um, traumatic brain injury. I've got several clients who fall into this camp, and I'm thinking, oh, I got to learn about this, and I've got to contact them all and tell them about it. So I thought, what a better way than as I'm learning, put together a presentation, present it, record it, have all of the ducks in a row so that when I contact those people, those clients that are on my mind, I have like, here you go, here you can learn about it, rather than me trying to explain it 15, 20 times, right? And then it's all information that we have for ourselves because it's exciting. It's one of those nootropic kind of things that we could all benefit from, I believe. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen. If you want to participate, and I welcome you to do that, you can type into the chat, you can raise your hand and speak, be seen or heard or whatever you want, and participate verbally in conversation form or type into the Q&A. So here we go. That's not where I want to go. I want to actually share my other, stop that for a second. Go back here and go to my presentation. There we go. And now share my screen. Okay. That looks about right. Get you guys over here, get my chat over here. Get my participants over, whoops, my participants over here. And let's see. Okay, very good. I think we're good. All right. So N-acetyl-Semax, a peptide game changer for stroke, brain repair, and beyond. How a tiny Russian-designed peptide boosts brain-derived neurotropic factor, otherwise known as BDNF, protects neurons, and may transform recovery from stroke, traumatic brain injury, migraines, and cognitive decline. So I've been talking a lot about plasmalogens with regard to all of these things lately. And this is another thing, another tool in the kit is how I would describe it. But let's learn more about it. So again, what sparked today's topic? Let me just shrink this down. Let me get my slide height proper. Okay, again, this man I was telling you about this, just have to share it. This was like, oh, wow. It was like when someone said to me, what do you know about methylene blue? And I'm like, I don't know anything about methylene blue, but we have other, mitochondrial boosting nutrients and things. But again, same sort of thing. So what is Cmax? Developed in Russia in the 1990s. It's a fragment of ACTH, which is adrenal cortical blah, blah, hormone. I can't tell you that one right off the top of my head. That protects the brain. It's used for stroke, traumatic brain injury, cognitive impairment, and optic nerve ischemia. Now, right here, you have to be intrigued, right? Because people who have had a stroke, trying to get your fun, I have several working with, trying to get everything back to where it was, as close as possible to where it was. So important. Traumatic brain injury, concussion. We're finding that somebody who's had a concussion can go on to have problems for up to 15 years from a traumatic brain injury. I have a young woman right now in her early 20s who has had in the last 6 years about 6 concussions, and she's got significant problems, keeping her from participating in life fully. Another person with traumatic brain injury, well, somebody I'm working with, and then her daughter, who's a advanced student, traumatic brain injury, and it's changed her life. So these things are super important. We need to know what we can do to help. So non-stimulant, non-sedating, non-habit forming. So let's find out how this all occurred. Where did this all start? What's behind it? I always have to know those things. The Russian origins of Semax. So it's peptide. And a lot of you are aware that peptides are kind of all the new rage right now with regard to a lot of things. So anyway, it is this peptide. It came from, anyway, Russian researchers knew that ACTH 1 through 39 has hormonal effects. ACTH 4 through 10 produces neurotrophic, cognitive, and neuroprotective effects without endocrine actions. They developed a stable synthetic analog of ACTH 4 to 10 by attaching the pro-gly-pro tripeptide at the C terminus. And you will not be tested, and neither will I be on this, and we're glad of that. They created what they call MEHFGPGP, blah, 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 which later became known globally as Cmax. This tiny 7-amino acid peptide turned out to prevent neuronal death, so your brain cell death, promote brain-derived neurotropic factor expression, enhance neuroplasticity, so synaptic resilience and the firing of of neurons from the dendrites and the axons and that synaptic firing and creating new neurons, supporting learning and memory, and improving microcirculation in ischemic tissues. So they're having a role in the microvascular problems that attend stroke and transient ischemic stroke or ischemic optic ischemia affecting the optic nerve. So we have basically, in a nutshell, we have amino acids that form peptides that create proteins. So that's kind of like how in the big picture it flows into all of that. And all without affecting cortisol, ACTH output, or adrenal function. So this was a huge discovery. Russian approval and clinical status. Cmax was developed at the Institute of Molecular Genetics, Russian Academy of Sciences, clinically tested at the NP Bakhtarieva Institute of Brain Research, approved for medical use in Russia in 1994, added to the Russian list of vital and essential medicines. This last point is enormous. Only medications considered medically indispensable for the nation's health system in Russia are included, and Cmax remains on that list to this day. The clinical use in the 1990s, once approved, Cmax was used in Russian hospitals for ischemic stroke. So given in the acute phase in early rehab, you have a massive stroke, a massive stroke, and into the hospital you go, and immediately it is employed, right? Let's just reverse whatever damage this is doing right there. I mean, that's the ideal thing. And nobody can do that outside of the hospital setting, right? We can't do that at home. Um, so that's why it's disturbing that we're not using it here in the United States. And there's a dastardly reason for that we're about to get into. Anyway, given in the acute phase and early rehab. So you've had your stroke, your acute phase, as soon as you can get it in there, but now you go to rehab. This should be, I don't think Kathy is with us today, but she'll be watching this. Super pertinent for her. Um, Shown to improve functional outcomes, attention and motor recovery, right? Paralysis. So the thing we dread with stroke. Reduced post-stroke neuroinflammation, increased cerebral blood flow in damaged regions. And this is the huge thing these things are so critical. And the sooner they happen, the better. So the TIA, the transient ischemic attacks, right? So that's when we have people who have the mini strokes, right? A lot of people have little mini strokes, and over time they end up with a dementia, microvascular dementia that comes from having had an accumulation of these little tiny strokes. So transient ischemic attack to prevent lasting cognitive deficits. FYI, what that is, it's a brief temporary blockage of blood flow to the brain that causes stroke-like symptoms but does not cause permanent damage. Often called a mini stroke, a TIA is a warning sign that a major stroke may occur if underlying causes aren't addressed. And then traumatic brain injury. Looks like a soccer player there, particularly mild to moderate, including concussions. Attention and cognitive dysfunction. Used in adults and children for ADHD-like symptoms, memory impairment, slow processing, hypoxia-related cognitive slowing. You've had something happen to cut off a oxygen supply to your brain briefly. Um, and yeah, optic nerve ischemia. Ophthalmologists adopted Cmax because it improved optic nerve microcirculation and reduced ischemic injury. So, what happens with optic nerve ischemia? Optic nerve ischemia occurs when blood flow to the optic nerve suddenly drops, depriving the nerve fibers of oxygen and nutrients. Without adequate circulation, the nerve tissue becomes injured or dysfunctional, leading to rapid, often painless vision loss. The damage is similar to a stroke of the optic nerve, same kind of thing going on there. And then why Russia loved Cmax. It checked all the boxes the country wanted in a neuroprotective agent. What's not to love, right? It's not psychostimulant, so you don't have any problems here with generally speaking side effects. Not sedative, not addictive, not hormonal, long-lasting synaptic effects. So you have a dose. I think that we're going to get into dosing a little bit later on. You don't have to take it daily. It's something that you actually put in your nose, and it doesn't have to be taken daily. Improves blood flow. That's good for so many things, not just the brain. Enhances your neuroplasticity. This is what we call a nootropic. A nootropic is something we use, a vitamin, a hormone, something like this, methylene blue, to enhance our brain function, our brain health, and better thinking, better brain power. And it was dirt cheap to make compared to Western pharmaceuticals. Russia heavily favored peptide medicines because they act on endogenous regulatory pathways. Endogenous means these are our natural pathways. These are our own things that we are in our bodies naturally. So it's working in a very kind of like stimulating or supporting or aiding our synaptic, you know, um, our brain mechanisms, our mechanisms of brain health or cardiovascular health, all of the things that are part of that. So they're just interacting and supporting and aiding those things that are already there. Extremely safe. Um, they rarely cause organ toxicity, and I haven't looked into what that rare, I haven't had a chance to look into that if they can rarely do that. But they can be administered intranasally, no doctor needed for injections. They fit perfectly with the Russian preference for regulatory peptides over synthetic pharmacology. The difference there that is being made, the point that's being made there is a lot of times when we use pharmaceuticals, they are going in and overriding and mediating things that are going on naturally in the body rather than simply supporting them. And of course, usually, almost always come with some sort of side effects that you don't really want. So the Russian philosophy behind Cmax is in Russia, Cmax was seen not as a drug, but as a neuromodulatory tool that enhances the brain's own repair machinery. They believed if you give the brain the signals it already uses to repair itself, you can accelerate recovery without forcing the body chemically. Thus, Cmax was viewed as a homeostatic corrector. In other words, if you give your body essentially the things it needs, it's trending towards repairing itself. It's called homeostasis. It's trending towards achieving homeostasis or that balance of health. We're naturally made that way. In spite of the fact that we're mortal and our bodies degenerate, at the same time, if we give our bodies the things it needs, for instance, if we're sick, if we have the flu or a cold, if we give it the right tools, it's going to say, oh, good, thank you. Now you're helping me. I can fix myself. And the brain is the same way. So that's a homeostatic corrector, a neurotrophic enhancer, a microcirculation support peptide, and a stress defense peptide. That's all huge. The philosophy is what led to the entire family of peptides, Cmax, C-Lank, they're very the same, and phenolion, epitalon, thymolin, and cortexin, all stemming from this same school of thought. And then in the 1990s, Cmax was tested for Cmax in military and cosmonaut programs. And they found the use of Cmax resulted in improved pilot performance, oxygen deprivation, resilience, sustained attention under stress. So that right there, like a very natural common day use there would be if you were going to go skiing, go high altitude type thing. Sustained attention under stress, cognitive endurance in cosmonauts. Results showed better error resistance, improved working memory, faster recovery from stress and hypoxia, oxygen deprivation, no stimulant crash. So not like you took a stimulant, right? And now like caffeine or Ritalin or something like that, and now you have the crash. None of that. It became part of Russian neuroresilience medicine. So then you would have to ask why the US never adopted Cmax. And we're talking 1990s, folks. And those reasons include it's a peptide. Pharma patent opportunities were limited. It didn't fit the Western model. It's not a stimulant, sedative, antidepressant, or anti-inflammatory. It modulates gene expression. And that's hard to commercialize. These peptides modulate gene expression. That could wig you out a little bit, right? If you just like it affects mRNA. And you're like, oh no, that's what the COVID shots did. Well, That's a simplistic view. Um, but we won't get into that today. But it's hard to commercialize that. No US pharmaceutical company funded large trials, right? Because it's not backed by the industry because they can't patent it. So thus, Cmax remained a Russian essential medicine and became a US neurotropic research peptide. And that's where it remains right now in the FDA classification here in the United States. We can get it and use it, but we have to do a little workaround to do that. Okay. In summary, Cmax in the 1970s, Russia, developed by Russian Academy of Sciences, approved in 1994 in Russia, listed as an essential medicine in Russia, used for stroke, traumatic brain injury, cognitive impairment, optic nerve ischemia, extensively used in their military and space programs, and designed as a non-hormonal ACTH fragment with neuroprotective properties, dramatically boosts BDNF and neuroplasticity, safely administered intranasally. Sounds pretty good to me. So then what is N-Acetyl-Semax? This was what the person I was talking with, that gentleman on the phone yesterday, told me about N-Acetyl-Semax. It is a next generation analog of Cmax. It's more stable, it's more bioavailable, it's longer lasting, and it has stronger neurotrophic effects than the original Cmax. All the research was done and all the Russian usage was done on back in the 90s. Sold only in the US, is sold in the US, like it's not only sold in the US, but in the US, it's only sold as a research peptide, not as something that you are supposed to use for your own health benefit. But why the scientists are excited. This peptide boosts brain-derived neurotrophic factor big time. Increases neuroplasticity, it's an upgrade from the Cmax, the original Cmax. It increases the synaptic repair after stroke and TBI. It's a step up. And then it further down regulates brain inflammation. It upregulates the dopamine serotonin balance, and it upregulates the mitochondrial efficiency in neurons, all big pluses. So brain-derived neurotropic factor, again, is the grow and repair molecule of the brain. It's essential for learning, for memory, for attention, for nerve repair, for neuroprotection. N-Acetyl-Semax dramatically increases it. Another thing, so we're always going for things that do that. And you can find funky, boutique sort of supplements out there, neurotropics that are supposed to boost BDNF, lithium orotate, nutritional lithium, which I use and which I have a lot of my clients using and recommend, also is a BDNF booster. So that's a real big thing. Things that you can do to boost BDNF are really wonderful. Where N-Acetyl-Semax may be helpful, stroke recovery, even chronic. So this is really great, right? Because the people I'm working with who have had strokes have had their strokes a while back. And you want to be able to employ anything that can still bring greater recovery. Traumatic brain injury, concussion, cognitive decline, brain fog, migraines. It's another migraine therapeutic. Neuropathy, another huge problem, difficult to resolve for many. Post-stroke depression and apathy. And this is one of the problems that happens with people who have had strokes is, and I have a gentleman, not this man I talked with yesterday, but an established client. And that's one of his problems is just getting that the fatigue and the depression and apathy that come with that. And not just because of the fatigue, but because of the neurotransmitter imbalance, right? Post-stroke apathy, depression, neurodegenerative disorders, a supportive um, role. And Jean is asking, does brain bleed fit in this category? Well, from what I understand, Jean, I don't think it does anything about the hemorrhagic nature of things. It has more to do with the clotting part of it. So I can't comment, but I will definitely look into it and get back to you. I promise. How it works, 5 pillars of action. It boosts BDNF, protects neurons from inflammation, improves microcirculation in the brain, enhances mitochondrial function, normalizes stress neurotransmitters. Stroke and brain repair. Promotes rewiring of damaged pathways. Supports speech, motor, and cognitive recovery right there. That's exactly where you need your help post-stroke. Reduces inflammatory injury after ischemia, after the stroke. So reducing how much damage is actually done and helps the brain learn again. Yes, yes, yes. And then looking at concussion and traumatic brain injury, enhances cognitive speed, improves focus and working memory, calms neuroinflammation, and supports long-term repair. Migraine, reduces brain excitability, calms trigeminal inflammation. And this then could be possibly, applied to people with trigeminal neuralgia. Probably isn't going to be the absolute, I have no pain, but people with trigeminal neuralgia, they call it the suicide condition. It is that severe, horrible pain. Supports mitochondrial energy. Beautiful synergy with things like magnesium L-threonate, R-lipoic acid, CoQ10, glutathione. Oh, I got to say it. Glutathione. Mood and motivation, gentle dopaminergic support, normalizes serotonin tone, used in Russia for depressive symptoms. No sedation, no stimulation. Sounds like a winner to me. Safety notes, to always do that. Not FDA approved. I say big deal, right? I mean, a lot of things aren't FDA approved. We're having a big problem now. It looks like Gerovital GH3 is no longer going to be available to people, and it's ridiculous. And it all goes to this FDA approved stuff. And even in other countries, trying to get raw material of procaine that is FDA approved for making the capsules. It's a long story, but it's just very disgusting because GH3 is a huge nootropic, and you get special interests involved in all of this, and it just keeps people from getting well, staying well, recovering from illness. They don't want you to be able to do that without them. So I say, like, big deal, right? That doesn't concern me that it's not FDA approved. If it does you, well, good, but it doesn't me. Generally well tolerated, possible mild nasal dryness or temporary headache. Sold in US as a research peptide, not for human consumption. But the good news is Becky says we can get it and use it. We just have to agree that we are purchasing it for research purposes only. So I purchased some today already. And I had to sign, you know how you have to sign terms and conditions that I'm purchasing it for research purposes only. And I am. I'm researching how do I feel when I use it? That's my research. And I'll let you know. So there's another form of N-Acetyl-Semax, which is N-Acetyl-Semax Amidate. And this is where it gets even better and very interesting. So, which one, right? Do you want Semax? Do you want N-Acetyl-Semax? Or do you want N-Acetyl-Semax Amidate? So, plain Cmax, let's go over these. The original, it's the synthetic peptide derived from blah, 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 blah. Created in Russia, used clinically for stroke, TBI, cognitive impairment. Pros, proven human clinical use in Russia. Strong BDNF upregulation, neuroprotective and anti-inflammatory. Limitations, less stable, shorter duration of action, lower lipophilicity, reduced blood-brain barrier penetration compared to the newer analogs. Like the one that I purchased today, I got the 99% lipophilicity, so that it's got the highest blood-brain barrier penetration compared to the newer analogs. I mean, so this one had the lower one, so I got the one with the higher one. Requires higher and more frequent dosing. Think of plain Cmax as the baseline therapeutic peptide. Then we have N-Acetyl-Semax, which was what my caller, the man I spoke with yesterday, was telling me about. NAS. So instead of NAC, N-acetylcysteine, NAS, N-Acetyl-Semax, with an acetyl group added to the N-terminal. So that's what happens with acetyl-L-glutathione, right? They add the acetyl group and it protects it from the stomach acid. And anyway, that's a totally different thing, but that's what it is. They add this, when they make it, they add the acetyl group. That's how it's formulated. What the acetylation does in this case, it increases stability, it increases the lipophilicity, it improves blood-brain barrier penetration, it extends the duration in circulation, and it enhances the gene expression effects, the BDNF, the nerve growth factor, and the synaptic plasticity. So it's a functional upgrade, stronger mood effects, stronger neuroplasticity signal, lower dose required for similar or enhanced effects. And that stronger neuroplasticity signal basically means you have better brain action, right? So what goes when you have Alzheimer's and what goes when you have age-related cognitive impairment? What goes when you have any of the neurodegenerative things is you have less brain plasticity. And so you have a lower dose required for similar or enhanced effects. Best use cases, cognitive enhancement, stroke support, TBI, mood, apathy, migraine support. It is noticeably more potent than plain Cmax. And then this is like the Cadillac, and this is what I actually got for myself today to try. This is the premium version used in higher end nootropic circles, and now I'm in that circle. N-Acetyl-Semax Amidate, NASA, or Na-Cmax Amidate. What the amidation does takes it a step further. Now you've got the acetyl group added to the original Cmax, so you got that in place and does all those good things we just talked about. This is the premium version used in the higher end neurotropic circles, and it converts the C-terminal carboxyl group into an amide. It dramatically increases resistance to enzymatic breakdown. So now it's going to be like hanging around in your system for a longer duration. It further improves stability in the nasal mucosa. It enhances the half-life, how long it stays in your system. It increases potency again compared to N-Acetyl-Semax. So now you've got greater potency. That you had greater potency with the N-acetyl version of Cmax over Cmax, and now you've got even more with the amidate. Why it matters. Peptides are normally broken down quickly, and the amidation slows that down. More peptide reaches the brain intact. Lower doses are needed, and the effects feel cleaner and more sustained. People who use NAS amidate often report stronger focus, enhanced BDNF-driven neuroplasticity feel, deeper calm, anti-anxiety effects. That's really cool. Less frequent dosing required. Seems like this would be good in so many applications. I'm thinking things like PTSD. So interesting. Amidation is the biochemical equivalent of adding armor. So the bottom line summary, again, Cemax, the classic Russian medical peptide, effective but less stable. S-acetyl-Semax, upgraded for better brain penetration, stronger BDNF, longer action, and acetyl-Semax amidate, the Cadillac, the most stable, long-lasting, highest potency version, acetyl plus armor plating. So then, the wheels are turning like, oh, that's great for if somebody's had a stroke or traumatic brain injury or what else did we talk about? That kind of thing. But what about, things like chronic neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, that kind of thing? I would think there would, anything that increases your brain's synaptic density and your neuroplasticity and your brain-derived neurotrophic factor and your nerve growth factor would have to be helpful there. So, I mean, that's just kind of a logical conclusion. So, why explore Cmax for neurodegeneration? Because it boosts these things. And it enhances blah, 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 reduces neuroinflammation, supports mitochondrial function and adenosine triphosphate, mitochondrial energy, protects neurons under oxidative stress, improves cognitive performance. These mechanisms are relevant across all major neurodegenerative diseases. I love a one-stop shop. So with Alzheimer's disease, Alzheimer's key problems, low BDNF in the hippocampus, synaptic loss, neuroinflammation, oxidative stress, and mitochondrial failure. So how Cmax supports Alzheimer's, strong BDNF booster, enhances hippocampal plasticity, reduces inflammatory cytokines, supports mitochondrial function, improves attention and memory circuits. It's not curative, but it's part of, it's in my toolkit now for Alzheimer's disease and Alzheimer's prevention. Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's key problems. Dopaminergic neuron loss, low GDNF, mitochondrial dysfunction, cognitive slowing, the apathy and low motivation that comes like with Parkinson's as part of the kind of the symptom, a gift basket you get similar to post-stroke. And so how Cmax supports Parkinson's, increases GDNF, the dopamine neuron survival factor, boosts BDNF, motor learning plasticity, improves dopamine tone, supports mitochondrial efficiency, enhances focus, motivation, executive function. It's mechanistically aligned with neuroprotective Parkinson's disease support. One more arrow in the quiver. ALS, probably the most heartbreaking neurodegenerative disease, and because of its genetic slant and the difficulties there, really, I would say are probably our biggest challenge when it comes to this type of illness. The key problems with ALS, rapid motor neuron degeneration, severe oxidative stress, neuroinflammation, and mitochondrial collapse. How Cmax could support ALS, BDNF supports motor neuron survival, GDNF reduces axonal degeneration, reduces inflammatory toxicity, stabilizes mitochondrial function, may improve function and slow the decline. Not a cure, but mechanistically meaningful support. Like the plasmalogen therapy that Dr. Goodnow is using up at Moose Jaw in Saskatchewan, Canada, at his clinic. where he works with people with ALS and just really helping to slow down the progression of that monster. So this would be something you could use along with. That's the other thing that I love is synergy with other things, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. How about mild cognitive impairment? You have a lot of people just saying, I just can't, I'm having a harder time, thinking of somebody's name or finding words and that kind of thing. Or, I walk in, well, I forget what I went into a room to do or whatever, that kind of thing. So the golden window, early memory changes, slowed processing, reduced neuroplasticity, mild vascular impairment. You really do want to get on top of, you don't want to say, well, my memory is getting a little bit worse and it must be my age and stuff like that. Remember, I was talking about when I was talking about the plasmalogens, that Goodnow did a study demonstrating that for people with mild cognitive impairment, it shortened their lifespan by 7 years. No, it didn't shorten their lifespan by 7 years. It added 7 years to their functional age. So if you have if you have mild cognitive impairment at 70, it puts your whole body at the age of 77, not just your brain, but your whole body at the functional age of, right? So that's something to pay attention to. How Cmax helps. It boosts the brain-derived neurotropic factor, better synaptic signaling, improves processing speed, reduces neuroinflammation, supports brain energy, enhances memory and attention. One of the most promising neurotropic supports for early decline. Yeah, it's like, think about improves processing speed. Like you're trying to think of that name, right? You're like, come on, get here faster. You're going to get here eventually, but come along the road faster. Come across the synapse to get there faster. That's kind of a cool little metaphor. Age-related brain decline. So that mild cognitive impairment, which comes with age-related, and then it just kind of continues, right? You might not develop Alzheimer's or microvascular dementia or that kind of a thing, or Parkinson's, but your brain just keeps aging and your cognition is getting worse. Normal aging, what declines? BDNF drops, mitochondria weaken, neuroinflammation rises, synaptic density falls, processing speed slows. Same thing. So Cmax as a neurotropic, neuroprotective neurotropic, which I would say, like methylene blue, right? Like I use methylene blue every day. I didn't have a stroke. I don't have Parkinson's. I don't have Alzheimer's. I don't want any of those things. And yet you can use these things as nootropics to keep your brain young and whippersnappery. Reverses that, does all of this, reverses age-related BDNF drop, supports mitochondrial energy, enhances cognitive endurance, boosts attention and working memory, helps maintain, all of the above. General nootropic application. Who's already using Cmax? Students, programmers, high-focus professionals, older adults, people recovering from illness, individuals with brain fog. Why it works as a nootropic, it's not a stimulant, it's not a sedative. You don't have to be on your uppers and your downers. Enhances cognitive function, not just energy. I can think of so many people this would be such a boon for. Like I've got a woman and she's like on uppers and downers. Like I'm talking like she's on Ritalin and then she's on stuff to help her sleep. And, like one counters the other and she's on a massive medications. It's like, wow. What would like being able to, drop all of those things and do a few of these things, or even just this. Big picture summary. Why Cmax deserves attention. Cmax or N-Acetyl-Semax or N-Acetyl-Semax Amidate may help slow degenerative decline, support brain resilience, improve memory, focus, mood, enhance neuroplasticity, strengthen mitochondrial function, improve recovery from injury, not treating disease pathology, but enhancing the brain's own repair and resilience mechanisms. I would honestly say that if you can get in there and override, if a disease has a pathology, say like Alzheimer's, it has a pathology, it's happening because of maybe a, um, a genetic influence, right? If you can go in and overcome with these things, can you say that you are, in a sense, you're dealing with pathology? But that's kind of a nuanced discussion for those who actually want to have it. Probably not all of us. So I just say, wow, what an exhilarating discovery this has been for me. I'm telling you, I did not know about this until yesterday. This is like, what? This is why they call doing what I do practice. And this is why I can never stop, because I just keep learning and everything I learn is so fascinating. But what an exhilarating discovery this has been. Not only for those facing serious neurological challenges right now, such as post-stroke, post-concussion, or traumatic brain injury, but for all of us who care about preserving, strengthening, and protecting our brains as we age. N-Acetyl-Semax and its analogs represent a remarkable new addition to the brain health toolkit. Isn't it disgusting that it's new? Like 1990s, they were using this in hospitals in Russia, but it's new to us in the United States of America. And it's new to people like me. I'm just saying, like, this is what I do. N-Acetyl-Semax and its analogs, yeah, okay. A peptide that stands strong on its own, yet becomes even more powerful when combined with other neurotropic and neuroprotective strategies. When paired with glutathione, methylene blue, plasmalogen precursors, or mitochondrial powerhouses like CoQ10, PQQ, NAD, and R-lipoic acid, this therapy opens a new frontier in cognitive support, and I would add into their magnesium L-threonate and long-term brain resilience. It's not about treating disease, it's about elevating the brain's ability to repair, adapt, and thrive. A truly exciting horizon for us all. I'm super excited. Where people are obtaining it. So I know you're dying to ask me that. Oh, this just drives me nuts. Anyway. So you can go to different places. Peptide Sciences research peptide vendors. So if you go here, this is like all about all kinds of peptides. And then this one is where I got mine. And this is kind of interesting because it gives you a lot of information there. What is CMAC, kind of like more overview. How does it work? And this is where I went to purchase it. The CMAX spray. And this is I got this one, the Amidate spray, because that's the Cadillac and that's the one I want, of course. So I went and I got the 30 milligram, the higher dose, and then the grade, I got the lyophilized at the 99%. And I got 30 milligrams. So that came to like $85. So it's on the way to me, which is really cool. And then, let's see. I want to go back to my other. Oh yeah, now I can go back to my PDF. You can find this one on Amazon. But this is not the, this is acetyl Cmax, but it's not the Aminate. But that's there, currently unavailable. Okay, so it's not there. We don't know, so forget that. And then this one is on Amazon as well. Quality research. This is the Amidate, 200 micrograms, whatever. So you can check that out too. And then Um, they're all labeled for research use only, but at least, with that little loophole, we can get it. Very abbreviated guide on how to use, and I'll put much more detailed info. I have it. I didn't have time to put it into slides because I had to take a shower before I got here, but I have it. But this is the typical use, 1 to 2 sprays per nostril, 1 to 2 times daily, morning preferred. Potency note, Amidate is a version is stronger, often lower dose, cycle 5 days on, 2 days off, or 10 days on, 10 days off. Tip, sniff gently, don't use right before bed, refrigerate, sold as a, yeah. So that's just brief, but when I put this on my website, I'll give you more details on all of that too. So anyway, the disclaimer, I have to put this here for, I want to make sure that I don't offend YouTube at all. This presentation is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Semax, N-Acetyl-Semax, and related analogs are not FDA approved and are sold in the United States only as research peptides. Nothing in this webinar is intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your licensed healthcare provider before making changes to your health plan. Okay, so we said it. Would this help with keeping the optic nerve healthy as a preventive measure as the eyes age? Yes, would be my answer. Absolutely. Yep. Based on everything there. Isn't that great to know? Hey, right there. I'll use it. Okay. And I think that's where I ended up. I didn't put a closing slide on there. Well, I kind of did. I wrapped it up. So I want to thank you. We just, honestly, this presentation worked out great. Came right in on time. I learned so much, and I hope you've been encouraged. Again, more tools in the kit, more weapons at our disposal as we fight aging and degenerative diseases, particularly neurodegenerative diseases. Also, as we deal with things like post-stroke, and maybe out there, maybe you've had a stroke, or somebody who has somebody in your family, and you're trying everything. And maybe this will give you some hope for something else to add to those things that you're doing to bring the fullest recovery as possible. So anyway, I am super grateful for you guys being here. As always in the classroom, won't be seeing you here for a few weeks, but you'll be hearing from me. If you're on my subscription list, I'll probably be a bit of a pest, actually. I've got some really cool other things than irons in the fire too, projects that I want to put my time into. So it's all going to come your way eventually. So I'll miss seeing you here, but we'll do that. And thanks again. Have a happy, wonderful, blessed Thanksgiving, and we'll stay in touch. Wait a minute. Let me stop my share before I say goodbye. I was just like, I can't stop my share while I'm sharing my screen. Yep. Happy Thanksgiving. Everybody's in the chat saying thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Be well, and thanks for joining me here in this journey of wondrous exploration. My curiosity is never ends, and finding answers is so exhilarating. So anyway, take care, be well.